Old School Lane Casual Chats is brought to you by oldschoollane.blogspot.com and is associated with Channel Frederator, Manic Expression, the Comic Book Cast, and the Arun Mehta Show.
Here's the story of child star actors. We were busy kids making lots of fuss.
I bought a car.
All of us have great careers thanks to our parents, but wound up getting till the one day when our group shared common stories over OCD, depression, and some lunch. We found support and zoomed into a family, and that's the way that we became the quarantine bunch. The quarantine bunch. The quarantine bunch. And that's the way we became the quarantine bunch. Ba-da-ba-ba-da-da.
Hello everyone, welcome to a new episode of Casual Chats. I'm Patricia and I am here with two very special guests. I am here with the creators of an online series known as the Quarantine Bunch. I am joined alongside with Ryan James and Jeff MacIntyre. So welcome, guys.
Hi.
Great to be cruising down the lane with you here.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Absolutely. So I'm actually curious about like your earliest memories of like whether you were introduced to like film or television, like what got you the inspiration to go into this industry?
Ryan, take it away.
Okay.
I
yeah,
do,
well,
but hang on. I do have some my earliest memories of the quarantine. Those memories are very fresh, in case we want to go there. But first, here's Ryan.
Okay.
yeah, actually, some of my earliest memories of my life are sitting in front of the TV watching Little House on the Prairie, the Carol Burnett Show, and the Lawrence Welk Show. For some reason, my mom liked the Lawrence Welk Show when I was a kid. And we would pop popcorn and watch. I know Little House on the Prairie. In fact, I have two small kids, and recently I've actually turned them on to Little House on the Prairie thanks to Amazon Television. But it's like watching TV is like some of my earliest memories.
Yeah, it's actually funny that you mentioned that show because when my mom was before she came to the United States, she's originally from Dominican Republic. She actually saw Little House on the Prairie in Spanish.
Oh wow!
Yeah, so every time that I would have like a guest on the show, she would always tell me like, when are you gonna have somebody from Little House on the Prairie? I'm like, what? Are you, okay, I don't know if they would even take the time to interview somebody like me because I'm a nobody, and you have like a bunch of journalists and people out there that do this for a living.
But Patricia, on the Prairie, you're a big someone. So come on, I think we can hook you up with a cast member. Keep your mom happy.
Okay, sure, that'd be nice.
I actually a truly little house on the story aside. I went to junior high with the Bush twins, the two girls who were the babies on the show.
Oh, nice.
So if you want to talk to them, who probably have zero real memories, but can tell you that they were on it, I'll get you the hookup.
Okay. Well, thank you. I'll definitely think about that.
Let me just tell you, we're 6 minutes into this interview, and just the enlightenment that's happened now. So much is coming into focus because Ryan, he mentioned he loves the Lawrence Welk Show, and for months.
No, I didn't say I loved it. I just said my mom watched it.
Oh, come on! Don't backtrack now. Lean in. So when we collaborate on Zoom, first he always insists on switching on this bubble machine, and now it makes sense.
Yeah, and a 1 and a 2
and a 2 from the top. Okay, well, thanks for having us, Patricia. This is a lot of fun. Talk to you next time, maybe.
Okay, maybe. But no, seriously, I think that, those are really interesting because, you have essentially like a few sitcoms and a variety show and, essentially like, those kind of things, if you were to cobble them together into some of the early influences, whether it be with the entertainment aspect of the Lawrence Welk Show or the drama from Little House on the Prairie, then I guess that could like lead into the interest about like, those stories or that show entertained me. I definitely want to see if I can share my own stories with other people and put it into my point of view and put it into my spin.
Oh, sure, sure. Yeah, and like later on in life, my dream was to be an actor. So, I was an actor for several years, both in Florida and then out here in Los Angeles. And it got to the point where I'd be reading some scripts and I'm just like, are you kidding me? This is the best they got right now. So becoming a writer, I'm kind of hoping to bring my own voice to TV now and hopefully put out stuff that's a lot funnier than what I used to get when I used to audition for these shows.
Sure. Yeah. I actually interviewed Daryl Vickers, and he was a TV writer, and he still is to this day, depending on, what programs that he's in. And he told me about, like, depending on what the TV show that you're writing for, whether it be like for comedy or depending on how much creative freedom that you have, the satisfaction of doing something that is a lot of fun, or that you have a lot of creativity to bring out whenever that you're writing a story for a TV show, especially one that's been recurring for a while, is it's very interesting, especially if you put your own spin on it. If you're even a newcomer for a show that's lasted for a long time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Tell me this: are you talking about Daryl Vickers from Vickers and Nichols, the writing team?
Yes, I am.
Ryan, did you know that from 86 to 92, they helped write 770 hours of material for The Tonight Show with Johnny Carson?
No way.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
Yeah, Daryl told me the story about, his time writing for the Johnny Carson show.
That's amazing. What a great job.
Yeah.
He helped contribute to television history. Did he give you any dirt on what that experience was like working with Johnny? And
oh yeah, I mean, like, I definitely will, share the information. I'll share the link to the podcast when maybe when we're done listening, talking over, and yeah, I'll definitely, like, you can listen into like some other stuff that he did, like, some shows that he wasn't too crazy about working on, and some shows that he loved working on. So yeah, I mean, he tells some really interesting stories about working in the TV industry.
that's awesome.
That's so cool. That's great.
Yeah. So anyway, shout out to Daryl if you're listening to this. But yeah, I want to know about you guys. So, Jeff, why don't you tell us about your earliest memories of the media that we have, and what made you decide to go into the industry?
Well, I don't think I've yet to step foot in the industry, thankfully. It's been kind of on the outskirts. No one's officially welcomed me in yet, but I still am holding out hope. But much like Ryan, it's, back to the 1970s with our TV trays, our TV dinners, lack of parental supervision, and you had the flickering boob tube to keep you entertained. And I mean, Carol Burnett, yeah, that was a big comedic staple back in the day. And I think some of my comedic influences definitely came from that show. And then you get into the sitcom years with the Three's Company, and all those wacky sitcoms. But I think it was a great kind of peak for young people into what was possible, and the importance of comedic timing and all the ingredients that go into producing, I'm not going to say good comedy, but at the time it was all we had, and it made us laugh. So that was effective comedy, right? I think comedy changes over the years as our tastes and the cultural sensibilities change. So does the medium. Has to keep up. Mm-hmm. So I always gravitated towards comedy. One of my favorite movies has always been Airplane. That's just chock full of comedic Easter eggs. Every time you watch it, you find something new. So that's what kind of keeps me laughing.
That's fantastic. So one of the things that I want to bring up right before we discuss about the Quarantine Bunch is kind of like the pilot that sort of was the kickstart to it. So the Comeback Kids. So where did the idea come from?
Yeah, the Comeback Kids. Well, I had written a play that I was putting up here in LA, and one of the actors in the play was Richard Horvitz, who I'm sure a lot of movie fans and TV fans will know who he is. He was in the movie Summer School, and he does a lot of animation and stuff now. He's got a very unique voice.
Yeah, I met him a few years ago at a convention in Florida. He's a really nice guy.
Oh, he's great. Yeah. So he and we were rehearsing because for the play, because I was also directing it, and he and I just started talking about being a kid actor in Hollywood, and we just were going back and forth, and he was telling me some of his stories because he grew up here and spent time in front of the camera as a kid and stuff. And so after talking to him, I kind of just got this idea of, wow, wouldn't it be cool to kind of do a show where you have these two guys who are now older trying to make a comeback in a business that they once conquered as children, and surround them in each episode with TV stars from the past. Now, this is before reboots became all the rage and popular. In fact, I'd like to think that maybe I might have played a part in reboots, because I was pitching the Comeback Kids to a couple of networks, and then all of a sudden these reboots started. But I'm not saying I did it. But anyway,
no, you did it. No, I know for a fact. I've had a chance to peek at some of the dossiers. It's all you.
Thank you. But after talking to Richard, I kind of just was playing around with the idea, and I went and I had breakfast with a big-time movie writer and director, Jonathan Lynn. He wrote and directed Clue and some other movies, and he was just telling he was asking me, well, what ideas do you have? And so I told him this idea about, at the time it was just one, and I already had Richard in mind to play the lead in it, and he was just like, that is something that what you're working on there, that's going to be something. So stick with that right now. So that's how the Comeback Kids came to be. And of course it evolved over rewrites and everything. And then we brought in Dean, who also was in Summer School with Richard, and Dean Cameron. And yeah, we filmed the pilot, and ended up taking that pilot to a lot of film festivals, and we ended up winning a lot of them or being runners up, and people were always coming up wondering, well, what about this star? Do you think you could bring in this child actor and all that? So that's really how the Comeback Kids came about. I still have faith in it and some hope that, at some point this thing will make it to TV, because man, we've mapped out 4 seasons of this thing, and
wow.
I think it would. I think it'd be great.
I mean, with the idea of like these child actors like coming together, I mean, like reunions, I guess, they've been, with all these reboots, they've, been around like more recently, but, like all these reunions and all that kind of stuff has, kind of been around. And I guess this is kind of like a spoof of it. It's like, that you have like those old, like, shows like the Brady Bunch and Facts of Life and all these shows that kind of like have their own reunions, and some of them could be hit and miss. And I guess it's kind of like a lampoon of that, in which like, oh, you have these actors who haven't been around for, who knows how long. And, oh, they're doing not as well as you think they are, even though they did this one thing when they were younger. And I think that's actually pretty funny, especially since, I think that, back then that would be, very curious for people. It's like, what have they been up to? I mean, I don't see them on TV or anything anymore. But I think now that thanks to social media, I think that, we would know about, what are these people are up to. It's like, they are in this Lifetime movie, or they're doing this commercial or something. And sometimes, they would, share their feedback to their fans saying like, okay, I'm going to be on this thing, check me out. Or they would just be like completely out of the game. And then the moment that they're like seen, it's like, what are they going to say? What are they going to do? So, yeah, I mean, it's actually pretty interesting.
Yeah, or I would always get the question of, I didn't know that they were still alive. They're still alive? So yeah. I won't name names, but yeah, it's I think there definitely is an audience out there for classic TV and the stars that were in those TV shows, And that's why I'm so happy that Jeff approached me and we did this quarantine bunch thing, because man, it's been a blast.
Yeah. I mean, so far the only thing that carried over from the comeback kids to the quarantine bunch was the idea of bringing these child actors together, as well as one particular character, Debbie from Tarzana.
Yes. Debbie from Tarzana, that is my wife. That's Melissa Disney.
Yes.
And I know you've interviewed her in the past because she was the lead in As Told by Ginger. In fact, let me see if I can bring her on right now. But yeah, Debbie is a character that. Hey, babe, want to talk about Debbie from Tarzana? Okay, here's Melissa Disney.
Hi.
Hi. We're doing good.
Patricia.
Hi, Melissa. It's been a while.
I know. It's good to talk to you again.
Please, where did the character of Debbie from Tarzana come from?
It came from the crazy mind of Ryan Paul James.
Ooh, do tell.
I blame everything on Ryan because he writes these incredible, fun, crazy characters. And then he comes up with crazy things like, oh, when that cat dies, she's going to get it stuffed and give it to that celebrity. That's what he did in the Comeback Kids, and it is so ridiculous and yet so memorable.
Yeah. and you actually wrote the stalking song.
Right. The funny thing is I'd written the song. I didn't write it for the show, right, babe? I had it ahead of time. And it's like I have these crazy songs that I write, and then I just basically look for opportunities to put them in things. And because everything that Ryan writes needs music, according to my brain. So no matter what he writes, somehow I will find a way to get a song into it.
That explains episode 4.
That explains episode 4 a lot. But then Jeff came along, and I was at a friend's house when I was recording all the Debbie stuff for episode 4. I had done something crazy over at a friend's house just recently during quarantine. I had a little mini flood that I caused. Anyway, I was stuck there for 3 days, shop vacuuming the flood. And in that time, I had to do Debbie. So I put on my friend's clothes. I grabbed my friend Keith's guitar, and we did Lazy Eye, which is another song I've done before for like when I do stand-up comedy music. And then, that big one time. And then the Boom Boom Room, I just had some ideas about, and I just flew with it. And Jeff was like the most amazing audience ever. He just was dancing along in the background. I could see him on Zoom dancing and like having fun. And he'd be like, and then what happened kind of stuff. So I just kept going, and he just gave me so much freedom that I just ended up on top of the bed, like riding a giraffe. I'm falling
That's
off the
great.
bed.
But I think that's a typical Saturday night for Debbie or Melissa. So I don't know how much stretch that was.
Well, you know what? Here was the thing. My kids weren't around, and I had 3 days of just hell to myself. So in that time, you have to kind of get out of your normal whatever, because we're all out of our norm anyway. And I just had to do something fun. And it just so happened I was shooting for Debbie that day, and I was just like, okay, what do I have in this house that I'm in, my friend's place? And they're not there. So I just grabbed their kids' toys and dolls and giant giraffe and clothing and earrings. And I just created this whole like scenario, this background of like, okay, Debbie got stuck in the quarantine at somebody's house where she was babysitting, and she can't leave now because she's too scared to get out. But anyway, yeah, so that's why I have all that stuff. Or maybe that's just Debbie's stuff. I don't know. Sorry. That's our crazy neighbor who has very small penis, by the way. I'm sorry. The only reason I know that is because they have to make a lot of noise when they go by, because they've got to compensate for their small man. That's what Ryan tells me.
Sure.
I didn't say it.
We're keeping it in.
Debbie. It's okay. You know what? It's actually like it's proven. It's like a medical fact. People with small packages make a lot of noise on their cars. I don't know why.
Yeah, I mean, that explains why people get Hummers.
That's right. That's exactly right. Yeah. I never thought about
Does
that.
Debbie have a song about this phenomenon?
Yes, please.
I think there
do it
should
in the
be
next
one.
episode.
She needs one.
I feel a
Yeah.
Hummer coming on.
Oh my goodness.
I just want to let you all know I've been drinking because it's Sunday, and this is the Lord's Day of rest for me.
It's perfectly fair.
Were we supposed to disclose that at the beginning of the interview, Patricia? Because I feel bad that I didn't. Yeah, I've been drinking since 9 this morning just to prepare for this.
It's
are you
okay.
having,
This show is called Casual Chats for a reason. It's
Perfect.
like we do.
What's on
good,
tap
good.
at your house, Jeff? What's on tap at your house today?
Oh, it's flowing. Freeform here. Some Colt 45. I got some whiskey. And I've been riding
oh no,
a giraffe
small
since
penis
last.
again. Hang on.
Uh-oh.
Oh my
We'll,
god.
we'll,
Okay.
we'll call him Teeny Tiny Timmy.
Yeah.
Flying by.
Timmy.
Okay. Yeah.
Did you have a question? Did I answer it?
I don't know anymore. Oh gosh.
We need to get Patricia a drink, Jeff. Can you
Number
just
one on
send her a home
iTunes.
pigeon with a gallon of wine?
Yeah, and an inflatable giraffe.
Yes. I need to. I don't have anything like that. I have a few stuffed animals in the background.
My son just ran down the ice cream man today for the first, like in years. We've been trying to catch the ice cream man, and he and our friend Judy literally got into her little car and just took off after him today.
Aw.
And caught him and literally got him. And the guy was so freaking nuts. I'm like, this needs to be a show. The tales of the ice cream man. Like,
Yes.
and he gave Ryder an ice cream thing, and then he tried to give Judy a Red Bull.
I bet he did.
Sure.
Come to the back of my van, lady.
Exactly.
You want a
Oh,
big
my
stick? I got a big stick. That's an ice cream. Come on, people. That's an old ice cream. This is the retro lane here. We're on
retro big stick. And what was that
Come
thing called with
on.
the orange creamsicle, right?
Yeah, creamsicle. Yeah.
I love that one. That was my favorite.
Mm-hmm.
The orange and the vanilla together, just delicious.
Mhm.
I'm gonna go get
Let's
one
do it.
right now.
Okay.
It's soaked in rum.
Even better.
Debbie style.
Yes. We might as well have
So-
a recipe, for Debbie of Tarzana's drink of choice. Melted orange creamsicle with a little shot of rum. And alongside
Oh my
with
gosh.
instead of an umbrella, you just put a little
Mhm.
toothpick with a face of Keith Coogan.
Oh my
Ah,
goodness.
mwah.
I love that.
That's
Yes.
merchandising right there. You just hit on our next
That's it.
product.
Yeah.
There. That's well.
That's
I can't. That'd be amazing. I would buy it.
Well-
anyway.
We had such high hopes for the Keith Coogan toilet seat covers, but they really didn't move quickly as we thought they would.
Oh.
And we even positioned
Keith's
them. They're
face on the
number 1 and number 2, but nope, he didn't.
Ryder, have you seen the Binky? I'm sorry. I'm taking this moment to look for my daughter's pacifier that she calls Binky.
No,
And
it's
once
okay. It's okay.
Once it disappears, we don't.
It's-
It's like life has to stop. I found it, River. I found it.
Yeah.
Let me
That's
just
filled
dip
with
that
rum
mommy's
too,
wine.
I think, the pacifier.
Oh my goodness, no. I mean, I know that they used to
Secret.
do, they used to put like some, I think I read somewhere in a book about like they used to put like some alcohol in like, pacifiers back in the day because, it was like where
A
their
little
gums were hurting. Yeah, a little whiskey
Yes.
because their gums were hurting and they needed something to calm themselves down.
Apparently, it doesn't work at our house, but what works for us is these little gummies that are laden with what's in our gummies, baby, that we give her. It's like
LSD?
it's the all natural. No,
Oh my goodness.
what do we give
Oh.
to River? That's melatonin. It's natural.
Oh, melatonin, yeah.
And I can't believe how many parents out there do it. Like, I felt bad at giving her this melatonin, but we're like, you know what, girl? At some point, we all got to sleep. So Daddy calls them candy.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, he does.
It's cheaper than
And
daycare.
he's like, you want to take
That's
some
a
night
fact.
candy? It's way cheaper than daycare.
Giving him at like 3 in the afternoon just so you can get a little more singing and writing done.
Oh my gosh, exactly. Like, how else can we
Candy
creatively
time.
work, right? And yet the irony is, if the more time we spend with our children, the more creative we become, because they are the ones who live in the moment. They're the ones who, like, I'm an acting coach on the side, and I always tell people, like, it's the playground of the mind. Like, you have to be able to visualize things. And I'm learning so much from my kids. So I think, and even my friend Izzy Diaz told me this. What show was he on that just got canceled? Broke. Oh, such a cute show. And he, unfortunately, it's going off, but he's such a great actor. And he said, Melissa, just wait. Once you have kids, your acting is going to get so much better. And I was like, really? Why? And he said, because you're going to go to a different level inside your soul that you've never been to before. And so many times I think back on that. I'm like, yep, you're right. Like, I love deeper. I know people deeper. I've got really deep all of a sudden, didn't I?
I dimmed the lights, so.
I got a lighter and I just like flinged it to the side.
Yeah.
For your little moment.
I need a cigarette. Who's gonna do it?
Beautiful
Let's
moment.
really get into this. Let's
Yes.
kumbaya this moment. But seriously, it's so beautiful. Like, what happens when you have children around you? I mean, you get so exhausted, but at the same time, you learn so much about yourself and how selfish you are and how, like, exhausting it is, and yet it pushes you to these limits where you're like, what really matters in this life? It makes you realize what's really important, and then you go into these auditions and things and you don't care as much because you're like, I just got to get back to my kid because she's about to go pee-pee potty on the first time, and it was really exciting, and like, I just want to sing her the pee-pee potty song, and who cares about the audition? And then you end up booking the job because you just didn't care as much.
Sure. I mean, I guess it's actually funny because I remember that there was like a series of like comics that came out like many years ago called Axe Cop, where it's essentially like a 26-year-old writer and artist was asking his 6-year-old brother, okay, tell me the story about a superhero, and he just came up with this like crazy idea for a superhero and
Like,
slash detective
right?
on the spot, and he like drew the comic, and then it became like hugely popular. I think there was even an animated series of it a few years ago. But yeah, it's like kids can be they can give us like a well of creativity that we can't think of otherwise. Like they have such expansive minds that it's like they say something that you wouldn't have thought of otherwise, or maybe you have thought of it, but it was in a different way. I guess it's kind of like, depending on the generation too, it's like, each kid has like, they were raised a certain way and they know about certain things that we didn't know of from our, from the previous generations. Like, oh, that's interesting. Tell me more about this. So yeah, it's actually
so
really interesting.
Great. It's so neat. We're so lucky that we have kids because we get to have that unadulterated vision just running around us all the time. And just watch these little ones that are constantly in this other realm that we're trying so hard as adults to get back to.
Right. Yeah, it's actually really interesting for sure.
And it's such freedom, and that's the reason why I feel like, let's just come full circle. That's the reason why I feel like I get to have so much fun now acting, is because like when I do the Debbie from Tarzana stuff, I literally just, it's almost like, what would my kids be doing right now? They'd be jumping on the bed with a giraffe and singing like improv songs and doing whatever comes to their mind, and just do it and don't worry about what anyone thinks, because it's not about what anyone thinks. It's about having fun in the moment and just being there and loving people and helping people. And that's really my thing. But it's like, no matter what character I play, the core of who I am is always going to come through. And that's what I try to tell my students too. Like, if your core is just really bitchy and like and resentful and whatever, you're going to get a lot of those characters because that's your core. And that's okay.
Yeah.
That's totally fine, because if you get typecast as that, that well, right? Like my mom's a full-on worrywart. Like she gets these characters. So she's an actress, and she gets these characters. She's like, oh, I don't know, I'm so worried. I'm like, well, that's who she is sometimes. But other times she's like totally loving and effortlessly beautiful. And it's like, you just do what you do because you you're just being the essence of you. And once you can get out of your own way and just learn how to play, you just have so much fun. And
Absolutely.
that's such a gift to be able to play and enjoy, like, bringing your own personality to the project, because nobody else can do what you do, you know, as an actor, as a creative, as an editor, as a director, as a writer. Like, nobody can do you, you know? So the more you get in
Right.
touch with who you are, the better it's going to be.
Oh, absolutely. Especially since, you know, in this industry, people are always wanting to find that one thing. It's like, okay, let's just, you know, they want a similar thing. They want whatever hot right now because it's popular. You know, that's why, you know, like when it comes to like the old saying about like television or movies or whatever, it's, we'll just use, you know, like Melissa for an example. It's like, you know, who's Melissa Disney? Get me Melissa Disney. Get me a Melissa Disney type. Give me a younger Melissa Disney. Who's Melissa Disney? It's all full circle. So if you want to be able to find a way to get yourself out there, I mean, yes, you have to play by those rules. I mean, it happens, especially in this industry. But if you put your own spin on it, if you're able to put a little bit of a something that that even the writers didn't even know about, like they didn't even fathom this, then you can bring something to life. I mean, like,
I want to know from Ryan's perspective, Ryan, what has happened with the characters that you've created that I've taken and run with? What do you feel like? Does it piss you off that I take them and I run with them, or is it good? Like what?
No, it's always a good thing. Yeah, it's great.
Yeah.
Sorry, my mind was going someplace else when she asked.
Where was your mind?
Yeah, about the small penis guy.
Oh.
Yes. That is why we are doing this podcast, to talk about the small penis guy. Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Finally, the truth is revealed. Patricia,
I know, right?
lead with that.
I know.
Okay, but here's the thing, and I gotta tell you guys, I feel a little bit bad about it, but kind of not. It's like that sorry, not sorry. Like, Ryan gives me sort of a direction to go, right? I get the script, I get to see this, and then I just run with it. And he's so gracious that he allows me to run with it. And at the same time, he doesn't have a choice because I'm his wife. So he's not going to have sex if he doesn't allow me to run with it. So I just run with these things. I just run with it and I have a ball with it. And it's so great for me because as we get to know each other better, like we're coming up on 10 years of marriage, like he's written me some amazing characters. And for that one show, it's called Desperately Seeking Love, I played like the hippie singer-songwriter girl. And then when it came back around and we did it again a few years later, he just assumed I'd want to play the same character. And I was like, no, babe, I want to play the slut. And he's like, what? I'm like, yeah, that's a super fun part. And he let me play that. And it ended up being way more fun because she's like the comic relief of the show. And we did that. Was that last summer or summer before? Summer and a half.
Before. Yeah,
2 summers ago. It was like one of the most fun parts I've ever played. And I didn't realize until then that I even had like a gift in comedy. I didn't know that. And like everybody was like, you're such a comedian. I'm like, what? I didn't even know. It was just like, wow. But thank you to Ryan, I got to play and got to like find out. And plus I've been privy to like so much information because every single thing he writes, I read as it's being written. And he comes to me, right? Talk to him about that. Like what happens during the process, right? Because it's teamwork, you know?
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. And for sure. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, no, it's fine. I mean, Melissa's really good to bounce off of, and whenever I write something, I usually will run to her and say, hey, is this funny? Is this good? And if she's laughing, then I know it's good, and I run. There's definitely been times where she says, no, it's not good, and I don't run with it, or if I do run with it, then I fall on my face. So Melissa is, if there's any other comedy writers out there, come to Melissa. She'll read your material, and she'll tell you if it's funny or not.
I like to be
nice.
Yeah. So what is your show rated, Patricia?
oh, trust me, this is not the most risque things I've ever, that's ever. Okay. I mean, like I mean, like, to be fair, I've had co-hosts, whenever, depending on what the topic is, that just like swear like sailors. So, I mean, but this, on the other hand, this is something completely new. But you know what? I mean, I need to shake things up every once in a while. So,
Okay.
oh, yeah, this
Because we
has been
can
great.
turn it up a little. If you want to make it even dicier, we can go there.
I mean, you know what? I mean, let's. It's like I always say. You do
yeah?
you. Yeah, you do you.
Just
Fuck
give
yeah.
me an inch. I'll take a while.
Oh, are you talking about your neighbor again? Give me an inch.
Actually, I was just thinking maybe we could order him something online, like one of those pump it up kind of deals.
Oh,
You know?
boy.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, we maybe could. We maybe could help him out, and then he wouldn't like be waking up our baby every day with his ridiculous revving of the car. I mean, this is stupid.
Well,
Ryan
that's a
wrote-
Kickstarter
Ryan wrote a
campaign.
short
That's a
script
Kickstarter
about it.
campaign.
There you go. That's a
Right?
Kickstarter campaign, right?
Yep.
Ryan literally wrote a script about this because it was so funny that this guy does this every single day, and he literally wrote a little mini short film about this
Yeah.
issue.
We'll talk about that on another day.
Yeah.
Okay.
Such a pain
Yeah.
in the
So.
ass.
Yeah. Well,
It's just that our
yes,
mess becomes our methods, you know.
of course. I mean, isn't that fantastic? It's like our mess becomes our methods. I mean, like many years ago, I had Candy Milo on the show, and she was talking. Yeah, she's wonderful. Anyway, she was telling me the story about how she came up with the voice of Cheese from Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends, and she was telling me the story about how her father actually had a. There you go. There's the guy again. Woohoo! Anyway, she was telling the story of her father that he had a van and that they would pick up people who were mentally or physically disabled to help them out. And she she was like influenced by like somebody who was acting like a little bit crazy or something like that, and then she like incorporated that into her character, not in an insulting way, but just the way that the fact that this person, these group of people, some of them were like acting crazy because they were being funny or they were being humorous, so they were trying to tell jokes. And she was like, yeah, that's very interesting. Let's get Cheese. If what if he was like hyped up on sugar and he was like acting all crazy for that particular character. So, I mean, like, yeah, it's that's a great slogan. Our mess becomes our methods. Like the most crazy situations, let's make them influences into other things. So, yeah, for any upcoming actors or people who are wanting to get into the industry, then there you go. That's something to take away from this podcast.
And wouldn't you all agree? We are surrounded by inspiration every moment, every day. And it just takes us getting outside of our adult brain and all our filtering systems that continually throw roadblocks in front of our creativity and our true, honest, unique self. Once you can just delete all that program, then, oh my God, you just tap into a wellspring of creative opportunities, I think.
Yeah, for sure.
No, I totally agree. Yeah.
And,
I think
kids,
that...
I think, kids help that because they are so filter free and in the moment. And I think that's a great lesson as adults that we can take away.
Free,
sure.
I like that.
Mm-hmm.
Filter free, baby. Hashtag it. Come on.
Yeah, there you go. Oh, hashtag filter free. There you go.
Hashtag small penis filter free.
Don't muddle the two. I mean, that could be
painful.
Let's
not. People will take it so out of context. It's not even funny. I think that would be kind of interesting if you ever like do a season 2 of the Quarantine Bunch. It's like, current child actors meeting up with old child actors. It's like, what lessons would they teach them? It's like, don't do the same thing I did. It's like, oh, what are you talking about? I don't need to listen to you, old man.
Become a plumber.
And stay away from the child
meth. Stay away from meth. I don't know.
Yeah.
Crack is whack.
Don't become a plumber.
Well, actually, some of the actors in the Quarantine Bunch, they actually do that. I know, like Scott Schwartz, for example, he has helped many more recent child stars with substance abuse issues and stuff like that. I'm not going to get into too much info, but
Sure.
But yeah, it's pretty amazing. I know Jeremy Miller, same thing. Keith, absolutely. I mean, they all. It's almost like their own club, if you will, where they want to help each other, and they do. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, especially since when it comes to child actors, depending on, how restrictive or how free they are, they can, there's been a lot of unfortunate tragedies of child actors who have gone down the wrong path. And, some of them, they've ruined their career. Some of them, like some unfortunately have lost their lives because of it. And we just need to be careful, and we need to set some boundaries. I mean, sure, for some child actors, it's like, oh, you don't need to tell me what to do. I could do whatever I want. I was in this movie, or I was in this TV show. So I think that there does need to be some boundaries. I mean, especially again nowadays, because we have social media. It's like my co-host Aaron and I, we were talking about this morning on our podcast about like this is something that really disgusts me, that on TikTok, for those who don't know, TikTok is kind of like a site that you can post like really quick videos, and a lot of people have fun with it. But then there was one person who wanted to do a particular challenge called the Autism Challenge, where they wanted to bring awareness to autism. And people took it in a completely wrong direction and started twitching around and started dancing around like idiots, making fun of people who are autistic. And that is just awful. As somebody who is autistic, this is an insult. And Aaron and I were talking about, like, if you do this and you're applying for a job or something, they can look up your social media. And if you do something like this horrible, you could be let go from your job. As an actor, especially, if you say something or do something that is an insult to various people, especially if it's to your fans, then there is such thing nowadays as cancel culture, where they will completely cut you off and they want absolutely nothing to do with you. So, yeah.
There's consequences, and they're much swifter than they were in the past, because everyone's watching. Everyone is watching.
Yes, that is. Yep. That's an excellent. That is excellent, Jeff. Everyone is watching. Well, so
but I can't claim creative license on that. That was a song from Rockwell and Michael Jackson. Somebody's watching. I mean, we have to pay credit where credit is due.
Absolutely. And I got no privacy. Whoa, whoa.
Oh, sing it. Somebody sees that. Somebody's watching me.
Yeah, I feel that way too. And you know what? Here's the weird thing: is like, if I was to take Debbie from Tarzana, and I'm kind of thinking about taking her in a new direction and going to her own little.
Give her own Twitter account,
her own show,
as Debbie from
her
Tarzana.
Own Twitter, her own whatever. My goal with Debbie is that Debbie is the supporter of everybody who's out there that is getting bad PR. So Debbie is the antithesis to bad PR. She's going to be, if anyone's getting bad PR and they're a celebrity, my motto is celebrities are people too. And we're going to come out there and we're going to cheerlead you on, and we're going to tell you how great you are. And I will get a cat and I will name it after you. And then when it dies, I'm going to stuff it and I'm going to deliver it to your door, so you know how important you are.
Yes.
In those weird, quirky Debbie ways.
Yes, absolutely.
Well, maybe X day on the cat thing. But I just think, there's so many people out there that are trolling and they're just bitter. And it's like you're using these platforms to just take their angst out on other people. And it's like, honey, child, you need to go to therapy. You need to stay off our platforms, and you need to go to therapy, and you need some help. And come on over. We're going to have a glass of wine. We're going to talk about it. You just need to talk to somebody. And don't take people down because of your own issues, And it just drives me friggin' crazy. So it'd be sort of my like social impact, my social change thing on the world. Like if you ain't got something nice to say, don't say anything at all. Okay.
Right.
Or just say it on Twitter or say it on Twitter.
Go say it on Twitter, or it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I mean, oh my goodness.
And Debbie's coming out with a child's book called Celebrities Poop Too, to help.
That's right. That's right. Celebrities poop too. They're real people. They get coffee.
Real people.
They push their kids on swings. They pluck
they
their
get
eyebrows.
IBS. They have an
They
irritable
get
bowel syndrome.
IBS
They
and
stuff their.
GERD.
And they
Yep.
eat corn.
They do eat corn.
Oh,
I
yeah,
know a lot about
Ryan,
celebrities, and let me
you
tell
hit
you,
the limit.
most all of them are real people.
What's that, Jeff?
Most. What?
All right, sorry,
Yeah, we've
Patricia.
really strayed the path here.
We're talking about poop now.
We strayed the path a long time ago, but that's
Yeah.
okay.
30 minutes ago.
She's like, it's
So-
too late now.
So, Patricia, here's a good edit point. Hang on, 3, 2, 1. But you know what's incredible, though, Patricia? All of our cast, yes, they've all had their ups and downs or peaks and valleys, but most of them have come through pretty much unscathed from the child star experience. So we're really fortunate to have a bunch of people who are somewhat normal as former child stars can be.
Well, they're
And,
normal now.
right.
No,
But
just
they've come through the
kidding.
fire.
I'm not
though.
normal.
Well, I'm not including you. No.
I think you're right. They've been put through the fire. I mean, Jeremy's been through hell. Keith's been through all kinds of crap. You know, these people have been through so much, and they've come out the other side, so they have a voice, which is really beautiful that they're sharing with
That's
their
great.
fans.
That's fantastic.
And it's
Yeah,
rough.
it is.
Hollywood builds a pedestal for you, lights it up brilliantly, and then they bring in a wrecking ball. When you're looking the other way, you're talking to the fans. Hollywood brings in a wrecking ball to tear down the pedestal they built up for you, and they leave you high and dry. And I cannot imagine what that does to a young person. That's devastating, and you're not equipped with the tools to deal with that kind of heartbreak. So
And
for them,
they do it to adults too. I mean, I have a writer friend of mine who he wrote a pilot, was very successful. They brought the private jet up here to Van Nuys. He got on the private jet. They flew him anywhere he wanted to go. He came back. 3 months later, his show gets canceled, and he doesn't hear from anybody.
So that's really sad.
So there's Hollywood for you. Yeah.
Yeah, unfortunately that happens. I mean,
Hollywood is a fickle little bitch.
It is a massive bitch.
It's horrible. It's horrible, horrible, horrible. And yet, for those of us who've been able to take a tiny ride, we enjoy it. But in reality, we're like, we know this is going to end. We know this is a little ride. We're going to take the ride. We're going to enjoy it. But we have lives outside of this. This is not our whole life. You know, this is something that we do, something that we love. But there's more important things out there.
Mm-hmm.
Like Rockwell, no one can ever take his gold certified record from him, number 2 in 1984. He'll always have that with Somebody's Watching Me. I just felt like we had to bring it back to him before we moved on.
Sure.
Yeah.
Now going into the storyline with the quarantine bunch, I mean, you know, there's like various sections going on, like whether it be like from, you know, former actors who have passed on, or, you know, Jeremy doing his Alexander Graham Bell performance, or the stuff with Debbie. So when it comes to like putting together these stories, and I know that you guys, you know, you have recorded each actor individually on Zoom, and then you would like cobble it all together. So the process of that, like how long does it take for an episode to get from record to YouTube?
Well, actually, most of the episodes are live.
They're live.
Shoot them all together live, and then we'll then have them record their own, like a second camera, so there's a better angle, a better looking video quality, and then we'll cut in if we need an insert. But most of those episodes, all 6, I mean, we shot in one night.
Oh wow!
One
night?
Friday evening 2 months ago.
Wow!
We nailed them all.
Wow, that's amazing.
And then we just cut away. The magic always happens in editing.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
So it's been a ball.
Yeah,
it's been a ball to
Jeff,
put together.
And if I can see, whoops, I just dropped my phone.
That's okay.
If I can sing somebody's praises, it's Jeff. I mean, I've worked, you know, in this business for a while, and what he adds his own comedic timing and taste with the editing that he does. And when he did that first, when he sent me a rough cut of the pilot, I was just like, I mean, what is it? Rusty Makes Five. Just that little promo that he puts in there. It was so good. It's so funny. I mean, I think personally, my hardest laughs come from what Jeff does with the editing. It's just amazing. Very nice. So,
right.
Yeah.
And but I mean I think that comes back to the real where am I trying to go? I'm too much drinking. Darn it! And this giraffe keeps coming onto me. No, Blinky, I'm doing an interview. Damn it! But at the heart of comedy, you have to sell something that's kind of ridiculous, right? So today with Photoshop and these other programs, it really makes it easy to sell something that's really nutty. And that's where I kind of sing. I just love those moments where, Debbie mentions, this is, I think, at the end of episode 5, or they're goofing on Jeremy Miller. And this is a moment where they're all ad-libbing. We've really finished recording episode 5, but I just let them go because you get a lot of comedic gems. And then somebody makes mention to, Jeremy, that's his porn site. And Jeremy says, I only do German porn. And then from the brilliant mind of Debbie, I've seen this stuff. It's very tasteful, especially that video with you and the pigs in the blanket. I'm like, oh my God. And then Keith says, that was making the bacon. Oh my gosh. This comedic stew is bubbling. So I just say, you know what? We need to do a fake DVD cover of Making the Bacon with Jeremy Miller. I found a stock shot of a pig and a gerbil and a guy laying in bed. Put Jeremy's head on it. Boom! Slap a little German on the cover, and that DVD is already number 2 outside of Berlin. They're selling it on the street, black market.
I heard it's doing great in Botswana.
We knew Botswana and Bulgaria would be such lovers of Jeremy Miller adult entertainment.
Absolutely.
We'll send you a copy if you're interested. Watermark, but only over the best parts.
We'll do a rain check. Anyway, so the one thing I have to ask when it comes to I know that you were saying, like, you already have an idea about, like, more episodes for the Quarantine Bunch as well as the Comeback Kids. Now, because it's a spin-off of, those of the pilot, I mean, has there any, maybe if you can tease it or not, but has there been any, like, talks of maybe having Richard and Dean back, since, it is a spin-off of the Comeback Kids? Like, we would like to see, Dean and Richard portray as their characters from different folks.
Yes. Actually, I think it was this morning or last night. I can't remember. I have a really good idea. I don't want to say it, but I told Melissa I have a really, really great idea of how to bring those guys into this show if we continue to go forward, and maybe kind of make the Quarantine Bunch more of a prequel to the Comeback Kids rather than just a spinoff. So
sure, I can see that.
Yeah, so it's just an idea that I have, and we'll see what happens.
All right. Well, I mean, best of luck to you for sure.
Thank you.
And Debbie's top 5 songs and outtakes are coming, right?
Oh, I'm looking forward to those. I love me a good outtake.
Well, we have some intakes too. These are going to be some intakes, and Debbie's going to host her own. Debbie from Tarzana, top 5 moments from Debbie from Tarzana, hosted by Debbie Tarzana.
We should have somebody ask her, so where are you from?
Monrovia. Dayton.
Arcadia, actually.
Walla Walla.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. Well, listen, I just want to, wrap things up because we've been going at this for almost an hour. But I just want to say that, I've been watching, the episodes, and I've been really enjoying, seeing everybody having such a great time, just, dealing with everything that's been going on. I mean, it's always nice to have like a nice burst of entertainment, especially with everybody, being scared or uncertain or just even frightened, of everything that's been going on. And I'm glad that you're able to get together and, produce something that makes a lot of people laugh and smile, because I know I've been seeing, like, from the comments and, all the social media feedback, that it's been making a lot of people feel really happy. So I just want to thank you guys so much for that.
Oh, thank you, Patricia, for saying that, because that's
Thank you.
exactly what Jeff and I wanted to accomplish with this show, was to just make it an opportunity for people to just take a break from the fear and all that stuff and just laugh. So
Yeah.
thank you.
Because, yeah, aside from a vaccine, I mean, the world really needs to laugh a little right now.
Yes.
Yeah.
And, we're trying to give people an escape. So
Yeah.
if
And
you haven't
it's like
seen
with
the
the-
show
with-
yet,
Oh, go ahead.
this is my big pitch to all your listeners. If you haven't seen the show yet, come on. It's the Quarantine Bunch. Your life will change in mystical, magical ways. I guarantee.
Yes.
We do.
Mine has.
Yeah.
Mine's changing.
Yeah.
I used to have a small penis, but now I have a large penis.
And now he had to buy a wheelbarrow.
Gives you a big
The
penis.
Quarantine Bunch. Yes.
Patricia,
Well,
I feel
speaking
like
of
I
the
have
theme
to
song-
apologize.
It's okay. Don't worry about it.
I think you do.
The one
To
thing that I
me.
have to the one thing that I am really happy about when I heard the theme song is that I heard Aspen and Tony in the
Yeah!
alongside singing with it. So
That's right, baby.
I'm really shout out to Aspen and Tony if they're listening, and Hope as well, even though I just
Yes.
I don't even know you, but still
but they're
but
so wonderful. And Hope's done Broadway too, and I figured, why not bring my Broadway friends onto this, because Broadway got shut down and everything, and so I was like, why not just get some Broadway singers onto our theme song.
Absolutely.
And by the way, Eric Oha is so phenomenal in his music, so
Yeah, shout out to Eric.
yeah,
too.
shout out to Eric. He is so phenomenal. He did the
Comeback Kids. too.
Comeback Kids,
And
Stalking
does
You.
Amazing
and-
Race. and-
yeah, he's so good. He's so good, and like I was so lucky to get him to do the theme song for us. And
that's great.
yeah, he's phenomenal. We love you, Eric.
Thank you, Eric.
you.
It's the best theme song, I think, on YouTube right now. It really is. And no,
I think in the
it's
world,
incredible.
Jeff. It might be in the world.
Well, I didn't want to go that far, but okay, let's do it. Certify that.
Let's just
Certify.
take it. I
Number
think we
one.
it happened here.
Yes,
You heard
it
it.
happened here.
You heard it second. This is great.
All right. Well, yeah, thank you so much for coming on by, guys. I really do appreciate. And if you have anything else to plug or self-promote other than the Quarantine Bunch, then go for it.
Yeah, if you don't mind, I'm sorry.
No,
I
not
don't.
at all. Go ahead. No, please.
Recently, I discovered I unearthed some incredible cassettes, and I'm having them digitized right now. And I don't know if anyone's interested, but they're actually cassettes of from what years? This is probably the mid '90s. 3 years of my therapy sessions on tape, and I'm
That's
putting them to
great.
music. I'm putting them to
Nice.
music, and I'll be selling
Jeff,
them at
can you put me
MP3s,
on
mainly
your
at swap meets.
email list for that? I want to get on.
Yeah,
that.
no, right.
That sounds
I'll drip out a couple
amazing.
free ones.
I
yeah.
can't
Nice.
wait, and I can't wait for Poochie to hit. Now I have Poochie's coming out soon, so keep an eye out for Poochie. P-O-O-T. Poochie is the singing hernia. This is what lives on my belly. It's Poochie the singing hernia. So watch out for her.
Okay.
Wow.
It's singing into a YouTube near you.
This quarantine is really doing a lot of work on
That's-
people's
Good luck to
minds
you,
right now.
Ryan. Good luck to you. Yeah. How do you get any sleep with a singing hernia?
No.
I'm telling you, baby, it's going big time.
Going.
It's gone viral in our house. Everyone's been infected.
Well, so to speak.
All right. Well, thank you so
Yeah,
much,
thank you
everybody.
so much, Patricia. This was
Yeah,
so
thank
much
you.
fun.
Patricia,
No, thank
appreciate
you for coming on. Thank you so much, everybody. I really do appreciate this. So, for all our listeners out there, let us know in the comments below if you have seen the Quarantine Bunch. What were your thoughts of it? Let us know if you would like to see more episodes of it. And who knows, maybe we can finally get this and even the Comeback Kids on TV. If you can, support the official release. As always, I'll leave everybody's links in the description below for you guys to check them out. That's it, everybody. Hope to see you around soon, and thank you for listening.
Bye, Patricia. We love you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Woohoo.
can't give a straight face. I'm so sorry.
It's okay. Take a minute.